Right, Infernal Blessings. We are back with another video. All right, before we begin, let me run through some quick announcements. First and foremost, 7th Annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference is in full effect. You can sign up and register for that now. You can attend live and in person, which hopefully those that want to attend do it that way. Or you can attend virtually. Shoot me an email requesting whatever information it is you need in reference to the conference. It's a 4-day event. Got something we talked about today, which will be the first time you hear it here. Instead of just doing a regular meet and greet, we're going to open it up because it is what they call on Halloween. And we know what All Hallows Eve means for us on the Occult and the Left-Hand Path. We're going to open up, we're going to kick off the conference this year with a ritual, something we got planned at the graveyard. And then a little coffee and donuts, short get together afterwards. So, going to change it up. This year is going to be a bit different from, I mean, every year we change it up a bit, but it's going to be, you're going to notice a lot more ritual work we've got planned for this one. So, yeah, we're going to open it up with it working for those that are able to fly in on that Thursday night. Because of the timing and everything and the energy, we just figured in discussing this today, it would probably be beneficial for us to take advantage of tapping into that power that's going to be out there, right? So again, it's going to kick off on Halloween night, the 31st. It runs to Sunday, the 3rd. So Friday and Saturday, there'll be the workshops, the classes, the presentations. Friday and Saturday night, group ritual, followed by a group dinner. And then Sunday, noon to 4 p.m., yours truly will be doing a question and answer session on anything you want to talk about on the occult, the left-hand path, or about anything that transpired during the conference. All right? So you can sign up and register for that right now. Tonight, my plan after filming this video, tonight I'm going to be working on the September Patreon events. Plus, I will set a date for the Black Magic Essentials 101 second class. Again, I appreciate all you guys' positive feedback on that. A lot of you guys really enjoyed that class. You know, it's great hearing the feedback, how you got a lot out of it. You learned something and you felt it was very helpful, and you really pushed for the second one. So I'll have a date for that, the Hip Hop Occult show. We got a great show planned. I talked to Brother Taja yesterday. You know, we're going to bring on his partner who came on, who's a producer out of Philly, and he really contributed a lot to the show. So looking forward to that. We got that. I'll have dates. I'll be working on all this evening. So you might see, I'm up late, so you might see shit come through midnight to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's when I get a lot of my work done. When I got the house and, you know, my son, both of my sons are asleep, and, you know, it's when I can work. It's just when I'm at my sharpest, right? So I'll have that information coming out. Also, if you're interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation, shoot me an email. I offer various different types of readings: Telepathic demonic readings, Santa Muerte readings, Egyptian oracle readings, shadow work readings, deity readings, or maybe you're just interested in a spiritual consultation. Either one, shoot me an email. Please include in that email days and times, a full weekly availability, and your time zone you're in. And you can shoot me an email at khnum19@gmail.com, knum19@gmail.com. If you want to sign up for classes, simple. Go to the Primordial Cast Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Tier 3 is the tier you want to join. You can also go to the page and look at the collection section. If you want to see all the ongoing classes that's happening right now, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, and look at the collection section. That's going to tell you all the classes that we got going on. We got a bunch of them. Tier 3 gives you access to all the classes, not just from the day you join moving forward, but everything in the archive, which is going back almost 5 years. All right, you get access to that, the group ritual work, plus all the ritual and the class work. It's a lot of material. Luciferian magic and sorcery, telepathic work, esoterical occult Bible study class, Sith philosophy and dark side alchemy, ancient Egyptian vampiric class, Luciferian magic and self-mastery. I mean, you name it. We're covering a bunch of topics. Obviously, shadow work class. Kundalini meditation and awakening class, to name a few. Check it out. If you really want to take your path to self-mastery to that next level, and you're looking to put in the work, and you don't want to be just an armchair magician sitting on the sideline, you're the expert, you're the pro, and you're sitting on the sideline, get in the game. It's going to get you to work. It's going to give you the stuff you need to really manifest the results that you're desiring in your life, to be as successful as you can be on all levels, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. All right. Also, don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos social media pages. Primordial Chaos 9, all one word, on Instagram. Primordial Chaos, 2 words, on Facebook. Primordial Chaos 3 on TikTok. That's the best way to stay abreast of all the latest happenings, updates, classes, announcements. You can find everything linked there. Don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos podcast, available on Spotify, all major podcast platforms. The direct link to the podcast, my contact email address to inquire about readings and consultations. The direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes, the social media pages. All those links are in the description box of this video that you're watching right now. Okay? Speaking of the 5 points of self-mastery, right? I'd like to revisit this in a little bit of a different way. And call this, if you are carrying out the 5 points of self-mastery, are you standing strong on the 5 points of the pentagram? Okay? As you know, I've developed the Patreon page, and the mentorship programs are geared. It's the foundation of why we should be on the occult and the left-hand path. And again, the first point, in my opinion, I created these 5 points in connecting with the pentagram and the imposed Baphomet on top of the 5-pointed inverted pentagram, which represents everything that we're trying to become on the occult and the left-hand path. We're trying to obtain that harmony on all aspects, right? We're trying to obtain the harmony and balance of the masculine, divine masculine and feminine energy, right? We're trying to get that equilibrium, totality, and the harmonization of all the adversarial forces. And of course, most important, what the embodiment of Lucifer represents as far as the harmonization of light and darkness. Because when we're able to achieve that alchemical formula or process, right, it's going to make us have the ability to master ourselves spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. That's what the 5 points of the pentagram and the foundation of the Patreon mentorship program is about. And that's what it focuses on. So again, I ask those in general, whether you're in the mentorship program or not, whether you're on Patreon or not, are you standing strong upon the 5 points of the pentagram? Because a true occult master, he or she is. And as I said before, the Baphomet, contrary in some circles to some of the knuckleheads and the space cadets and the spooks, I don't teach Baphomet is an actual entity or deity as they do in some circles, unfortunately. Any true occultist or left-hand path practitioner wouldn't teach that, in my opinion. Okay? It is a very powerful transformation, one of the most widely used occult symbols, but it is a symbol that represents alchemical transformation. It's why it says, inscribed on the forearm of Baphomet, coaguli. When you're dealing with coagulation, which where the Latin word coaguli comes from, you're dealing with transforming from one state or evolving to a better, a higher, a more evolved state, which in essence is really what the Baphomet represents. So when we're using the Baphomet, and I've told you guys a great mantra, break it down into 3 parts. Baphomet. When you vibrate it at the right frequency, you can just sit there. And if you really focus on everything that Baphomet represents, and you do that in a mantra meditative state, you'll start to feel the body become less dense. You'll feel that inner alchemical transformation. You'll feel the tingling in the vibration. You'll feel between the bridge of the nose, the body getting lighter. And if you're really locked in and focused, you can get yourself to the point where you feel the separation from the physical body. It can happen, and it has happened, right? So this is why it's a central piece you'll see on a lot of altars. It's why I keep it in the backdrop, geometrically aligned on my altar. And as I said, when it comes to my altar, I'm very detailed. There is geometry and geometrical alignments, literally, specifically with my altar, understanding the energy grids and the direction it faces. So my altar faces east for a reason. I know the dark work is done in the north, but I have it positioned in the east, and there's a certain way I start. Because remember, in the north, it represents a pure state of darkness. As I explained to you guys in a Masonic lodge, they'll tell you no work is done in the north because it represents darkness, desolation, the void, the dark abyss. I find that funny. And Set, as we know, in a lot of ritual work, is drawn, from the north, right? There's a connection with Set in the north. Now, when you're doing the Draconian Open, I find it odd, parallel north to south, you invoke Set in the south, and there's another science to that when you get into casting the Hermetic Circle, right? Because we're dealing with the abode from below. Because Set also, as you know, before Osiris took that role, or Osir, he was the one that assisted Ampu. He was the companion or the guide, or that helped and assisted guiding the soul to the underworld. That's where you get that southern point direction of energy, which gets into something else. But my altars are specifically set up a certain way. Things are positioned on themselves. Because you got to also understand the magnetic grids of the planet, the points, the directions, because you can use certain things when being worked as energy conductors. Okay? Grids that you can tap into these frequencies if you do it correctly. Okay? So when you're really working this and you're really standing strong on all 5 points of the pentagram, okay, you are now in that state of alchemical transformation, that state of great change, where you now are a god or a goddess, right? The personal daemon has awakened within. The true, real, higher self, whatever you want to call it. The illusionary self is now, you've stripped away the layers where you're not trapped in the illusionary you that you've been programmed to think for years is the real you, right? You've done the shadow work where you've integrated the shadow or the hidden self with the real self, and you have a better understanding of yourself, which taps into the concept, know thyself, the alchemical saying, know thyself and thou shalt know the gods, which they say is inscribed above the temple of Heliopolis, right? Which is the Greek temple for the temple of Ra, or the sun, in ancient Egypt, right? Know thyself and thou shalt know the gods. So this is what I tell people. How can you establish a strong connection with deity or spirit when the personal daemon the true or higher self hasn't been woken within, okay? And you haven't even stripped away the illusionary aspects of yourself, okay? So it's impossible to connect on a strong level if you don't understand yourself, is the point, okay? And this is why, as you see, I always have a strong emphasis on shadow work. And there's a reason, okay? I have that strong emphasis on shadow work because if you're not doing that groundwork of integrating the shadow of the hidden self, this stuff will pop up later. Problems and issues will pop up later if you don't handle them when you have the ability to just dive right in. And the thing, and people sometimes don't understand the methodology we use on the occult and left-hand path and how we do shadow work. Some people say it's very dark and it's intense, and it looks, in certain aspects of it can look very tough and painful. And it is when you're doing real shadow work. Not that fluffy shit. There's a lot of bullshit out there now. Shadow work, like a lot of other stuff, has started to become very trendy, because I think sometimes this inner child shit is kind of gone to, they go to the well with it, in my opinion, a bit too much. And it starts to sound a little new agey and a little fluffy. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. We cut no corners with it on the occult and the left-hand path. We do not sugarcoat it. We do not try to layer it for you and fluff it up to try to dumb it down, right? Or your inner child. And there's a truth to that. And I've used the term in the past to a certain degree, but then when I started to see it getting abused and going through the well too much to dumb shit down, I just don't try not to use it no more. It's deeper than your inner child. It's understanding psychologically the mental functioning of your thoughts and why psychologically you might have a certain thought process and how that thought process was implanted there. It's not just about healing from hurt and tapping into your inner child, which is a fragment of it. We take it to a deep mental level. Why does the psychological trauma there? What is the root cause of it? And why still are there certain thoughts that you may be confused why you don't know where they come from, manifest from, because it could be something a little deeper and beyond what you're sensing or what the naked eye or the mind on the surface is able to tap into, okay? All this is part of understanding, are you standing strong on the 5 points of the pentagram, okay? It's what my definition is and what I mean when I say it. Because as I told you guys, that whole concept of 5 points of self-mastery, it just came to me in meditation while meditating on the alchemical and occult symbol of the Baphomet. Okay? It just came to me in meditation. And I just was processing these thoughts in the meditation. This is how you need to develop the program. This is what it needs to be about. I heard that inner voice, which was my personal daemon, communicating to me. That's it. That's the God you want to connect with. Right? The deities, gods, goddess, and demons, they are spirits that you can connect with certain functions and certain aspects in certain avenues, or if you want to say certain departments of your life that they can help and assist. Because in the reality, you're going to understand the personal daemon, in essence, is the real you. And when you evolve back into that form of a being of energy, like they are, and have the ability to manifest that will and take on physical form and vice versa, you will have a great understanding. We have that ability. At one point, we're all, as I told you before, we're all always in that state of spirit or energy, right? As I told you, I ran across a video. I got to get the dude's name. It was an old elder. It was an old video from back in the 80s. And that's the way I've been trying to explain it for years. We never leave that state of spirit or energy. Even when we're in this, what we think is this physical form, right? It's just we've lost the ability, the know-how, quote unquote, as they say. We've gotten amnesia and we've forgotten who we are, right? And this information is supposed to wake you up to the reality. And like I said, there's so much stuff out there as far as distractions is concerned. There's so many different religions and spiritual systems and dogmas and paths that, don't get me wrong, some of them on the surface, they sound real good. They sound just like somebody can turn and say, same thing. Well, the occult and left-hand path sounds real good, but how do you know that's not the right way? Well, the body of work and the actions is what speaks for itself. When you look at work and action and putting it into practicality and making that work and action manifest, that's where I think the difference and the separation comes. We're not taking our approach where we're just meditating on it or praying on it and putting it out there and saying, so mote it be. Hopefully some unforeseen, spooky spiritual force makes this shit happen. No, the difference with that approach, we're completely opposite. We're saying we have to be the god or the goddess to get off our ass and do something and make this happen. That's where you can see the great variance and difference. That's why I'm saying it's very easy to detect why what we're saying is not bullshit and how there's a lot of holes and flaws in a lot of these religions and dogmas and spiritual systems that's out there. So it's tough because in 2024, there's so much shit out there. What's the right thing? What's the right way? What's the truth? Right? How I know I'm doing the right thing? How do I know this is the right thing for me? And the answers to that is a process. And I can tell you straight up, if you take the approach, I'm going to tell you straight up, if you take the approach of when you're navigating on this path, right? As I've said to you guys before, one of the hardest things to do is get through the initial first phases of it. Like it's like being on a probation period kind of thing. Because if you're real new to this path and you come from a very restricted religious, spiritual dogma or system, it can be, I don't know if culture shock is the right word, but it could just be it could disrupt, your regular way of doing things or what you thought you knew. And that could be a good or a bad thing. So why am I saying all that? It's very important out the gate, especially, really got to be patient with yourself, period. And patience is an attribute you must acquire on this path, but be patient with yourself. The problem is some people are not patient with themselves out the gate. And I said patience is the hardest school to master because we want everything quick sometimes, right? And we don't realize that it's work. And if you have the ability to discipline yourself and be patient and let things take its course and you'll see the results, I think that's where you start to see what we do is quite different from what everybody else does. It's easy to embrace a path of light and love, alafia, ashe, and all that shit. And look, I make fun of it. I have fun with it. It's just the truth, okay? It's just the truth. Some people stay in dogmas, religions, and spiritual systems because it's a comfort zone for them. It's a crutch. It makes them feel comfortable, warm and fuzzy, right? And it's, most importantly, it's safe, right? Nothing about the occult left-hand path that breeds safe. Not safe in the self of being repetitive and mundane. If, again, I've said this a million times and I'll say it again, if you don't want to be challenged, if you don't want to be sharp, stay on your toes, and constantly be ready to embrace change, then the occult and the left-hand path is not for you. It's going to be straight up. Not going to sugarcoat it, not going to dumb it down, because it's all those things I just described. If you're looking for routine, the same mundane shit on a regular and a daily basis, if you're looking for comfort and security and playing it safe, then stick to one of the right-hand path philosophies. That's probably where you belong. The light and love, or assalamu alaikum, shalom, alafia, hotep, blessed, grand rising, stick to that. Hotep, stick to those type of systems because they'll keep you safe, fuzzy, and warm. And again, it is what it is, right? And there's nothing wrong with that because, as I said before, if that's your calling, that's your calling, right? And some people sometimes have to come on this path and go back to that because they needed to come on this path to realize they thought this was what they wanted, but in actuality, they're not built for this. So they have to go back to one of those more safe, secure, comforting paths and usually convince themselves that that's where they should have been all the while. That's the thing that kills me. And a lot of them that do that, they were the ones that we hear hardcore, oh, I'm so dark. Oh, yeah, this, that, and the other. They're the ones, I told you many times over the years, they're the ones that go back first and find some justification of why they went back, right? They got to find something wrong to justify and make themselves feel right of the decision they made. And that's fine. That's fine. That's why I did that video a little while back, a year or so ago, whatever. Maybe a little less. Many are called, few are chosen. But anyway, if you're one of those that regrets, you weren't standing strong on the 5 points of the pentagram. Okay? So ask yourself these questions. Are you standing strong on those 5 points of the pentagram? Yes or no? All right? Other than that, that's going to wrap it up. Again, if you need to reach me for a spiritual consultation, if you want to check out the Primordial Chaos podcast, if you need the links to the social media pages, if you need a direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes, my contact email address, all of that information and all those links are in the description box of this video that you're watching right now. That's going to do it for me. Frontal blessings, and we'll talk soon.